The Korean flag proudly flew to mark the first ever Formula 3 event in the country. And it was to be an event in the true sense of the word. This was not going to be just a race, but a celebration of a nation that was excited and proud to be visited by the Formula 3 brigade. The Changwon Circuit is a few miles away from Korea's second capital city, Busan, home to some of the biggest shipbuilders in the world. The previous week was the Macau Grand Prix, and everyone had travelled direct to Korea and treated to a very warm welcome. Straight away, everyone knew this was going to be a very special week indeed. As would be expected, with so much publicity, the crowds turned out in their thousands to line the specially built street circuit. The Changwon Circuit is set around a massive sports complex, and Macau champ Darren Manning takes a lap round it.
Crossing the start-finish line, you've got a fifth gear flat-out S-bend, a little bit off camber in the middle of the corners, and a little bit bumpy on the entry. It's the first apex, so that's quite a challenging corner, even though it's full throttle. Then into probably the fastest corner on the circuit. It's a flat-out entry around a long left-hander, tightening up ever so slightly with a quick down change into fourth gear. Quite dusty in our session. Then a little slot. Quite tight right before you've got a little straight before probably the most important corner on the circuit, because you're wanting to get a good exit speed here for top end speed on the long back straight. Full maximum speed about 230 kilometers per hour before braking just after the 100-meter board into the chicane. Third gear. Bumpy on the way in and all the way to the apex here, so it's extremely difficult. It's one or two cars spinning on the exit, but it's important to get a good exit for the flat out past the start finish line.
First qualifying run for the odd-numbered cars, and Manning had been fastest in practice despite a high-speed crash when he ran wide. Second in Macau and second fastest in practice was Jenson Button in the Renault-powered Dallara. It would be essential for him to get ahead of Manning on the grid. The number 1 plated Toyota led out the cars for the start of the session, which saw Manning struggle to get in fast times, with traffic slowing him down at critical moments. At the end of the first session, he was third fastest behind Christian Albers and Peter Sundberg, posting the fastest time. The final combined times for the first session were to put Manning 7th overall. Dutch driver Christian Albers had been dogged by clutch problems in practice that had cost him time on his fast runs.
Yeah, I'm always not happy because when you're not pole, okay, the car is still not okay. But I think we had a right setup. I think Darren Manning was really quick. 6/10, he was quicker than me, and I think it's not the car anymore. I think it's really got a powerful engine.
When the evens came out, Japan's Toshiro Kanishi, who was second in this year's Japanese Formula 3 Championship, was fastest in a session that had to be stopped when Senjiara buried his car into the tyre line barrier. When all the times from both sessions had been combined, it was Darren Manning that had secured his third pole start in a row. Second session, with time ticking away, saw him drive brilliantly.
Still setting the pace, quite a bit ahead of the other drivers. Our session, we've got the pole position side, because I set the fastest time between the odds and evens group. So because passing is going to be quite difficult here, that's quite an advantage.
So time to go racing, and another cool but clear day with a few concerns about tyre temperature was to cause the leg 1 to have 2 formation laps. Darren Manning on pole, relaxed and confident. The 24-year-old from Yorkshire, already with an impressive racing history, does start a favourite, but there are others like Toshiro Kanishi that could be there if the opportunity arises. Christian Albers, German Formula 3 winner this year, but lacking a little speed here. But the form book suggests that Jenson Button, who finished third in the British Formula 3 Championship this year, might just have the speed and ability to stop Manning. Darren Manning on pole then for leg 1, with stand-in for the injured Juan Manuel Lopez, Kanishi alongside. Then it's row 2 with Albers and Button, and row 3 Sweden's Peter Sundberg alongside Frenchman Jonathan Couchet, Bernard Troiler and Stewart Racing's Luciano Berti. Race 1, 25 laps already completed there, 2 warm-up formation laps. Red lights looking for the green, and it is Manning on the left-hand side who seems to make a brilliant start. Christian Albers just dogging down a little bit there, but all the field seemed to be away, and straight away it is Manning into the lead. You can see how tight this circuit is, set around a massive sports complex. Very, very tight, slow first gear corners, a lot of them. The back end of the field looking up to make positions where they can. Very slow corner again as the hurtle down, slam on the brakes, ready for the left-hander. Streaming through in procession. One of the Stewart Racing machines we saw there of... oh, and there's a spinner already, so 37 goes for a little walk. That's Andrew Kikaldi in the Dallara Mugen Honda, but safely back underway again. That leaves him right at the back of the field. But this is race leader number 1, Darren Manning. And there's an incident on the course. Well, that's one of the Stewart cars that looks as if it's Narain Karthikeyan's. Oh, Christian Albers has been caught up in there. Sebastian Dumez is the other car. And the marshals are going to have to move quickly now to avoid that. And there's more cars in there. Peter Sundberg, number 5, just manages to pick his way through. But more cars getting caught up in this. Albers was getting out. The race has been stopped. That is the only thing they could do. And look at that. There is cars everywhere. Well, number 2 just picks his way through. That's Manning's teammates. And there's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 cars that have been extensively damaged. Well, all the cars back on the grid that are in one piece, and there is the wreckage of the number 9 car.
I mean, I was running in the 6th place, I think, and suddenly I approached the corner before the back straight, and there were normal yellow flags, waving yellow flags, and I just slowed down a little bit. You know, that's what I have to do, to slow down a little bit. And when I turned in, the track was completely blocked. I mean, there were 3 or 4, I think 4 cars into the wall, and there was no room to pass. And like I said, even slowing down, I mean, we were still maybe doing 80 miles an hour. So it was completely wrong from them to don't red flag straight away. I mean, the incident was already there for maybe, I don't know, a minute, and they knew that the track was blocked, so they had to put the red flag straight away down.
Luciano Berti talking there. In the Stewart Racing camp, there was a great deal of anger. One car had been damaged, the other destroyed. It would be possible to repair Berti's car for the second leg, but it seemed likely that the Stewart team would not race out of protest. It's the replay of what happened then. Christian Albers' car in the center as he just starts to get out. The debris everywhere. The incident finally cleared, and a reduced grid for the restart with some 40 minutes elapsed since the race was stopped. Red lights, green light signal to start. Manning off again, desperate to get out in front. He does, just but chased hard by Button. All safely away for the second time in this restart, and all hoping that there's not going to be any more problems. Number 3, Mark Hines, we just saw there, British man. That looked to be Peter Sundberg, who he was battling with there. And everybody has to get everything back in order again. Michel Spoldi, we were just seeing that in the number 11 car. Darren Manning still leading ahead of Jenson Button. These two close. Then back to 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. That's how close they are after the leading pair. This shows the advantage these two have, and they're slowly pulling away from the others to that chicane once more. And that's about the only part of the circuit that the drivers seem to dislike and would like something done about it. All the drivers seem to be enjoying this challenging circuit. The only one that didn't seem to like it has already dropped out. And that was Noreen Carthikayan, who said he just didn't like it at all, didn't suit his style. But Manning on lap 1, 6.668 seconds ahead of Button. There's problems for Kim, number 28. Well, he's had a spin, but he's back on the way again. And Button now looks to be closer, on board with Heinz then. And you can see the RPM, the speed, and also what gear he's in. 4th gear down to 3rd then. Backs off, gets back on the throttle again. Holds the same gear down into 1st. Back on the power, revs up 6,000. 2nd gear, 3rd gear. Back on the brakes, down through the gears. Another 1st gear corner. And Manning knocks off another lap. The gap is about the same. So Button and Manning pretty even at the moment. Gloria, Cachet, Heinz still in 5th. Sundberg in 6th place now. And look at that. 11 seconds between 1st and 3rd. And a battle going on here. That's Mark Heinz and Peter Sundberg. That was 5th and 6th place. So collision there. Heinz struggling to get away, but gets underway again. And that has really dropped him down. Back at the front now, and Jenson Button has closed the gap. 0.168 of a second. Button on a charge. It's not going to be easy now for Manning to hold this off. Button means business. And he is all over the back of that. Goes for the inside line, but couldn't quite make it stick. And this is starting to get exciting. On board, front and rear view. And Manning now driving really, really defensively. Look at Button squirming all over the back of him. Manning's got to keep a cool head. He's got to keep the power on. At the same time, got to be careful of who's behind him. Manning and Button 1st and 2nd. These two so far ahead of the rest of the field. Well, Manning just looks to have pulled out a little bit more of a breathing space on Button. But Button, see what he can do on this last turn before they come out onto the start-finish straight once again. Can he get any closer this time? Not going to be any way through as they go through the line. What's the situation going to be in a lap or so's time? Manning seems to have found a little bit... Oh, look at that. Manning smoking his tyres, and Button very much on the mark there. Look at Button, he really is throwing that on. Well, look at that, very, very close indeed. Looks on the inside now, and that must have been a touch. He touched it indeed. Manning goes wide, Button's on the inside, but Manning fights back. Well, just keeps the lead. Look at this, they had to be contact there. If you didn't hear it, you saw the car move. Button was up on the inside line. Manning just had to drive, though, out of the turn and got the advantage of any better power that he had, but that was racing at its utmost edge there. So Manning still leads from Button through to end another lap, and they really cannot get much closer than this at all. There's the checkered flag, and I'm sure Darren Manning will be very pleased indeed to see that out. A terrific end to this restarted race. Well, Manning having to do it all twice, so Button was really putting on the pressure in those final laps with some brilliant driving and finishing a 2nd behind the winner in the end. Kenichi Home 3rd, and Jonathan Cachet 4th. Well, Darren Manning having to work for it in the end.
This circuit is very difficult to overtake, but unfortunately our cars are quite a lot different, to say the least. You know, I'd pull out in one section, Jenson would catch in the other, then I'd pull back out in some places where you wouldn't think so. So it's definitely making for some interesting racing.
Jenson Button, the closest thing to a challenger to the mighty Manning, but it wasn't enough.
Try to make it interesting for you all, but the move didn't quite come off. But I'm happy that I finished very close to him, so I think it's about a 2nd. I'm behind him now. So come the next race, hopefully I'll be in front and be able to do the same as he has.
Button in a positive frame of mind for leg 2, but then so is Manning, and you never know what will happen, as that pile-up proved. And now some of the teams working hard over the next few hours to repair their cars, ready for the 2nd start. Race 2 then. And Darren Manning, pole position once more for the race. Well, I'm not sure what she's saying, though, to our cameraman there. Jenson Button, second. Can he be first this time? Jonathan Cachet, number 18. And conditions still good. It's Cachet. And the girlies on duty on the grid once more. And it's probably a little bit cool for what they're wearing here, but they look pretty anyway. So this time there are 5 less starters for leg 2. The grid formed from the finishing order in race 1. Manning on pole again from Button, Kanishi and Cachet. Then rows 3 and 4, Troiler, Montiero and Hines and Sundberg on row 4. Eyes down once more for the start. 1 formation lap completed, 5-second board. 3, 2, 1, red lights. And then to green. And they're away. Manning getting a good start. Christian Albers at the back. A good start right at the back there. Just coming into our foreground picture there. And he's made 2 places up at the start of that. Starting at the back of the grid because, of course, he didn't restart after that crash in leg 1. Oh, and this squealing of brakes there as they head through. There's Peter Sundberg in the bright yellow car. Down round through the swimming pool section. There's Albers. And he got ahead of 22 in that particular start. Got ahead of Lee. Had a bit of misfortune in the first leg. Sundberg again, and that seemed to be Mark Hines that he was battling with there. There's Jenson Button. Shane Troiler. So Darren Manning in first place through the chicane, and then it narrows down to a single lane. You can see the white patches on the tarmac where oil's been soaked up. That on the left-hand side is the entrance into the pit lane. No pit stops, of course, in this race. Start-finish line. 1, 2, 3. Troloya there in third place. And the gap visibly seems to be about the same. Hines through. There's Sundberg. So Sundberg's dropped back a little bit. And there is Problems. He just gets out of the way. But Problems, again, it seems to be for number 28, Kim. Very slowly indeed, race leader. Then number 20 in second place, Jenson Button. 2 British men, and Manning with the fastest lap. 1:13.466. So he knows that he has got to keep the pressure on. And, well, the problems have deteriorated for Kim. And we look to see where that is. Is that the... It is, in fact, the start-finish straight, so not too bad. And problems for the other Brit, Andrew Capaldi. So he's in the pits, and he'll retire. Yellow flags out. And there's somebody who's hit the wall. And, dear, oh, dear, out of the race goes number 19, Bruno Besson. And somebody else in the pits. Well, that's Peter Sundberg. And Sundberg, well, maybe he's got some damage from debris on the circuit. And Christian Albers now, so he stopped on the circuit, gets out, puts the steering wheel back on, then safety car's out. Well, there's no real choice. There are too many things happening on the circuit at the minute. Sign that says the safety car is out, and this is not what Manning wanted at all. This has allowed everybody to bunch back up again. So Manning in first place with Jenson Button right behind him. And the safety car is off. All systems go again. Manning gets a leap. Look at that. Hardly anything in him. And he's got to get away from Button, but Button doesn't want to do that. Manning sliding everywhere, but caught that very nicely indeed. Button saw it, went to dive through, but didn't quite get there. Button wide, but Manning tight on the line, and Button is already starting to put the pressure on now. He knows this is the time that he can get past while they get the tyres back up to temperature and back up to pressure again. And that's Lee and Melandri who've had an incident now. That's 22 and 33 right on a difficult part of the circuit as well. And there's Andre Couto. So Andre Couto's got out, and that seems to be a different part of the circuit as well. So the safety car is going to have to come out. There's going to be no, yes, there's the confirmation. Absolutely no choice at all while they remove the cars from the circuit. Got to be done, obviously, the safe thing. Here's a replay of what happened, and just harpooning themselves there. And 2 more retirements to this race. Safety car indicates that it's off into the pit lane. The downhill section, then it's the right-hand turn onto the start-finish line. And Manning backing him up, then he'll accelerate, and then the race is on. Now as they cross the line, there's the green flag. Owen R has spun it at the back of the grid. Number 2, R is out. And, well, looks as if he's stalled the car, so that's the end of his race. And look at this, Button now knows he's got to keep close to the back of Manning, shunts him as well. Well, it's almost a repeat of leg 1. And it's going to be very, very difficult now for Button. As we head down towards the last few laps of this race, and if Button has got anything in reserve, he is going to wait until the last moment to use it, because he doesn't want to give Manning a chance to fight back at all. But can Jenson Button make the move and make the move stick? Remains to be seen. It's going to be in the next lap or so if he can make it. But Manning knows. Manning very wily indeed. Button close on behind, but it's not going to be here. Brake hard out onto the start-finish straight, and Button alongside this time, but didn't quite get the drive. And the winner for the second leg is Darren Manning. 2 victories in a row, the first ever international Formula 3 race in Korea. And Darren Manning has done it again. And Jenson Button alongside, well, a brilliant challenge for him, but not quite good enough. 2 wins in Macau and now 2 here in Korea. Very impressive driving from Manning, and another spirited drive from Jenson Button as well. Close, but no cigar this time. Bernard Troiler was 3rd, and when the 2 legs were combined, the top 3 was exactly the same, but Couchet was 4th overall from Kenichi and Monteiro. Garling in ceremony now on the podium in the pit lane. The press from all over the world here. Darren Manning wins the Macau Career Challenge Trophy from Jenson Button. Manning is now the recipient of that $100,000 bonus. Champagne celebrations, and I'm sure he won't mind another sticky pair of overalls at all. He can afford, of course, now to get them dry cleaned.
Thank you very well. Cheers, thank you very much.
Well done, Darren. 2 wins in the day. Pretty happy then?
Just a tad, yeah, a little bit wetter, but a fantastic weekend, couldn't have been better. Nice to have a really good battle there with Jenson. It's been a pleasure battling with him. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Again, it was a little bit of stock cars towards the end again.
Yeah, it's extremely tight and twisted, this circuit, so it's, you know, in the slower corners you get extremely close, and, you know, Jenson's pushing me hard all the way, you know. It's all part of the game, unfortunately, but it was all fair, you know, nothing too dirty.
A very close end to the race, and Button would, of course, like to have won, but he was still upbeat about that second place of his.
I had to give him a bit of a nudge at the hairpin. Obviously my brakes weren't working, but no, it's the only way of passing here, really, and I wasn't able even to do it then. But I know we get on very well off the circuit, and it's good to race with them here. I've never raced with them before last weekend, so we've had a couple of good races together, and I hope to do it in the future again.
It was a tremendous week for all, and the racing lived up to everyone's expectations. And preparations are no doubt already in the advanced stage of planning for 2000.